Hi, I'm Chemistry, and for the Capstone project, I propose to research the utilization of VR in the field of architecture. Introduction. My interest in architecture sort of began with video games. I really enjoyed building stuff in video games, and I also spent some time in some previous courses studying traditional Chinese architecture. I also had the opportunity to intern at Shanghai Construction Group, and I sort of got an understanding of the programs that they use, um, and the topic of integrating AR and VR into building design, architectural design, and uh, property management was often brought up. These two sources sort of served as a foundation for my research. Uh, they sort of generally talk about the rise of technology in our society and how it's sort of reflected through our architecture as well. Uh, it also brings up the idea of spatial costs as well as actual costs, like monetary costs for physical buildings, the distance between for transportation and for interaction between, for example, businesses. uh, as well as a small introduction to sort of the modern building, the smart building, uh, and for like humidity sensors, lighting sensors, sort of being connected through IoT. As for these two sources, they sort of more specifically talk about VR in the process of architecture design, uh, and they sort of talk about the limitations of virtual reality and the lack of integration with existing software that are commonly used in architectural design today, such as Revit and SketchUp, which sort of provide 2D data uh, that can be sort of converted to 3D models, but aren't very easy to interact with. An interesting case study I came across was made in 1999, the Lund University, uh, and they sort of were testing collaborative design using VR. And at the time, they didn't have a headset, and so they used a small chamber uh, to sort of simulate the laboratory that they were trying to design. They involved the chemical and educational lab researchers that would use this space, as well as the facility manager and the administration of the school and the architects. It was sort of trial and error with all the participants sort of gathering within this chamber and sort of giving their inputs on the usage of space, and then the problems and solutions uh, would sort of present themselves with each new trial. And overall, the project was a success as they reached a sort of common ground, showing that optimal design can be achieved by also including the users and the managers of the facility into the design process. So it's not solely up to the architects uh, sort of process. Uh, these are sort of just the main points from the literature review condensed down. Uh, and so for the research question, uh, I want to ask, how can VR be utilized in the architectural design process? And as sort of sub questions, I want to understand what can VR provide for the design process that current solutions can't, such as CAD programming and you know old-fashioned pen and paper sort of designing. Also, this is something that's already been partially developed. So what functions are already available to us, as well as what are those the limitations of the current software. Uh, and that sort of goes hand in hand with what functions can be improved or implemented. So my methodology for continuing my research will include interviewing my former coworkers in Shanghai Construction Group to sort of better understand the process of creating and maintaining buildings. Uh, I'll also try to get firsthand experience using AR VR software such as Archi, Smart Reality, or just using Unreal and Unity to understand what they can provide and what limitations they have. Um, and as for text research, I like to continue to search for case studies on VR implementation in architectural design, uh, as well as understand what previous methods sort of lack that VR can provide a solution for. Thank you.